Hey, you guys, it's Megan from Create Your Future. Today I have Karen here with us, and she's a manifestation coach. So check out her description in the link below, as well as the course that she's offering. And today, you guys, we're going to talk about gratitude and the law of attraction. So I intend this video is going to help you guys understand both of these things and manifest something that you want in your reality. So yeah, Karen, go ahead. Let's talk about law of attraction and gratitude today.
So the reason, gratitude is a very important thing because gratitude is essentially the energy you would be in if you got what you wanted now, right? If anything, whatever it is, no matter what it is, like there'd be certain feelings that come with it, but for everything, it would be gratitude. You would be grateful for getting what you have. You would be grateful for having it. And you would be grateful for yourself for doing it. If you're religious, you'd be grateful to a God, maybe. If you're not, you would just be grateful for yourself or for whatever circumstance happened. But the energy of gratefulness is always a part of when you get the end. So the more we can tap into that energy of gratefulness now, we're essentially tapping into that end of having whatever we want, whatever we desire. So we can use this more consciously and be grateful for the things we already have, because everything you have now, you manifested at some point. So you can be grateful for having it now and knowing that that's just going to lead to you getting what you want now, because we're just here to have an experience, and what we want may change. So even if like your home now isn't what you wanted, at one point it was. So you can be grateful for it and still be like, okay, I'm grateful for my home that I have, and now I'm manifesting this better thing. And tapping into the gratefulness for it now will help you to feel that end of having the one that you want next.
Yeah, that makes sense. And I also think that sometimes it's going to train your brain to not focus on the negativity or the lack of things, and so many times we're just focused on the lack or not appreciating, even if your SP or specific person's showing up, a certain way. Sometimes you'll be like, okay, yeah, I had this date, but, and then they, like our other video, but, and focus on the negative that aren't occurring yet, as opposed to, wow, I'm so grateful for what's showing up. And again, whatever you focus on is what expands. So getting the habit of focusing on what you have right now, being grateful for it, and it will go, instead of going down that, that negative thought, oh, I don't have this, or lack, or this person's not doing this. Have you ever noticed anybody tell a story? It seems like they always go to like, they skip over sometimes the good parts and they go straight to the part that they don't like.
That's funny you mentioned that, because I was just talking about that with a client yesterday, and I gave like a very similar example that it's, and here's the thing, that's another back door to being in the end, and another back door to being not in lack. If you're in gratitude, you're not in lack, because you're appreciating what you're getting and then getting more things to appreciate. So it's true, when you're in lack, you're going to see, no matter what shows up, if you see any movement, you're going to look at it as a failure. And you're going to look at what you're missing, and that's only going to attract more failure and more of what you're missing, as opposed to looking at something and being grateful for it, even the small thing, and then allowing that to be, like a boost for your next thing coming, not as opposed to, for example, if someone's like, I haven't had contact with a specific person in, however long, and oh my God, they texted me, but they said hi, not hello, and I wanted them to say hello and not hi. I don't like the word hi. That's lack, that has lack written all over it. And then you're going to attract more lack and more not getting the hello as opposed to the hi or anything beyond it, because you're just focusing on not having and not getting it, and he never gives it to me. As opposed to, oh, wow, I'm so grateful that I got this message. And now I'm also going to get a message of him saying hello, telling me that he cares about me, X, Y, Z, etc.
And, the thought behind it, if you're saying what you just said, is very powerful, because the thought behind it is, I'm not getting what I wanted. What everybody's you pushed out, that goes, thought transmission goes to the other person, and they're just going to give you more of that. They're going to feel that energy as well. And this going to be more, it's going to be created over and over again, as opposed to, okay, yeah, thank you.
And just like we were talking about the video last time about carrying in old versions of people, it's also that. If you're like, this person never ever does this thing, and then you notice them every time you see them, you notice them not doing the thing, then you're going to get more of not doing the thing. Or as opposed to if you're grateful for what you are getting, or even if you're not seeing movement yet, you can be grateful for the signs. And I say signs in quotation marks because you get to decide what those are. You get to decide,
Sure.
I feel good, therefore that means it's coming. I feel grateful, therefore that means it's coming. I saw a couple down the street walking, that therefore it means it's coming. You get to interpret that. And you can be grateful for that. And that's going to lead to you getting what you want, as opposed to, oh, everyone has this but me, this person never does it, blah, blah, blah. All these things are just going to bring you more of what you don't want.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So really, really being aware of what you're thinking and then focusing on, is this, being grateful for what I have? Is it going to be in line with what I want to create? Or am I focusing on the lack of what I don't have? Because that's really what you're saying. And that's your choice. I mean, that's where free will comes in for you, or anybody listening, that is. What are you focusing on? Because if you are focused on the gratitude and what you have right now, you're going to get more of it. But if you start focusing on the lack, you're going just to create that over and over again. And so, really, really be mindful of what you are, focusing on.
And we all have things to be grateful for right now. Like maybe there's things we don't like and want to change, but there's at least one thing that you can be grateful for right now that you can think of. And I want everyone in the comments to post something that they're grateful for right now in their life. At least one thing. If you have more, go ahead, include more, but at least one thing. I want everyone to post it, because you have to, when you notice things to be grateful for, you get more things to be grateful for. And this came up in one of my sessions recently, so I'll share it for anyone else working on body changes. That's a big one where gratitude can come in, because oftentimes we're looking at ourselves in the mirror and we're only looking at what we don't like. And then we're assuming that also other people see it that way, when, like they don't. I mean, they do because we think that they do, but they wouldn't if we didn't think that. So you're focusing only on the lack of, I don't like my arms, or I don't like my legs, or I don't like this or that about myself. And that's also keeping that in place so that you can't change it. So when you start with being grateful for the parts of you that you love, even if you have to start at like personality and qualities, you can change the things that you don't like as well, but from a place of loving the things that you love, not from a place of hating the things that you hate.
Mm-hmm. And I also think it comes into, just made me think, because I had a session too about something like, it wasn't body, but it makes me think about is that it kind of comes from also not feeling good enough sometimes. And it comes down to self-worth. So sometimes you could compare yourself to other people and say they have this, or they're doing this and I'm not doing this, so therefore I'm not good enough. And, I think your strategy right now that you're saying is actually, think about what you do have and be grateful for what you do have, because you don't, that's super important. Like maybe that person's going to work every day, get in their car, and you're working from home. Well, maybe that's what you really want to do, and be grateful that you have the opportunity to be able to do that.
Mm-hmm. And that's a good point. This can also be used for self-concept. Like notice, what do you already have now that you're grateful for in yourself? I guarantee everyone has at least one thing that they like about themselves. Even if it's not physical, even if it's about personality, like find the reasons why why you're a good person, why you're so great. And you are great because you're the creator. So even if you think you're not great, you can create yourself to think that, because you're that powerful as a creator. And we're all here, like I said, just to have an experience. So why would you want to experience not being great?
Mm-hmm. Exactly. And stop putting, like, this brings me to another point, stop putting yourself down. With what you just said about self-concept, we're usually so focused on our flaws, or the body image, or all that stuff is usually focused on the flaws. So, start writing the great things about yourself as well, because like you just said, Karen, everybody out there is perfect how they are.
Yeah. And that's also how you're going to get a specific person, or even, because it's an energy that when you're in an energy of hating yourself or hating something about yourself, that energy is going to feed into all areas of your life too. So you need to change that. And actually, this reminds me of, I had a client, it was a teenager that when I was a mental health counselor, that I remember we were writing down like the things she's like, nervous about and insecure about. And she was like, I am just really nervous because my nose is like crooked. And I look at her and I'm like, where? I don't see it. Like, you're, what are you talking about? Like, there's nothing
Mhm.
there. I think she said there was a bump. And I was like, I'm looking straight at you. I'm 2 feet away from you. I don't see anything
Mhm.
wrong with it. I don't. And it's just your perception that makes it seem like it's so terrible. And you're the one that's, because you're looking at yourself in the mirror, you're like judging it and you're interpreting it this way, but it's really not. And actually, the more you think that, then you will create people to think that. But
Mhm.
besides the point,
Mhm.
like, it's not true regardless. And also, and theoretically, like, we don't even look the way that we look in the mirror to ourselves to other people. There's really no way for us to know how we really look because we can't see ourselves in 3D. We can only see a
Right.
2D version of ourselves.
Right. That's so true. It's a really good point. And also, I'm going back on that nose thing too. It's like, it's kind of, or the flaws, perceived flaws people think they have. It's really, I think, is conditioning yourself and saying, I can only be loved if I'm perfect. I'm not worthy of it unless, like in your client's case, unless my nose was like perfectly shaped, and that's not true. It's not at all.
Exactly. Or I've seen this a lot, and this also came up recently where someone was working on an SP, but they were also working on body things, and they had tied them together, to which they felt like, oh, well, the SP is not going to like me because I'm not this way yet. And I'm like, don't tie them together. It's okay to have goals on both areas. It's okay to want to change certain things about yourself. Again, you want to do it from a place of loving yourself and wanting to change it, not from a place of like needing it because that's lack. And you don't want to tie that into anyone else because you don't want anyone to love you because of how you are in a moment. You want them to love you regardless of what you look like, what stage in your life you're at, whether you gain 5 pounds, lose 5 pounds. You want them to love you regardless. And again, that doesn't mean that you can't want to lose or gain an extra 5 pounds. That can be something you work towards. That could be something you want to manifest, but it doesn't have to do with the SP. That's a personal thing. It's a personal choice. Just like manifesting this SP or that SP or that house or the other house would be a choice.
Right, right. Yeah, don't condition your desires. And, as you said, we're saying before, it could create, the more you focus on it, like, I've said this in other videos. I used to think, oh, being overly sensitive was such a negative thing. And then everybody in my reality would mirror that back to me because I was so dwelling on that over and over again. But then once I realized, well, everything's empty and meaningless. You're the only one giving it negative meaning. Change the meaning of it, Megan. Then everybody might, accepted that about myself and then everybody else. And I started looking at the grateful things, like going back to what we're talking about, the grateful things. What could it say to all the negative things overly sensitive to me? What are the grateful things that makes me so great? Like, what are the good qualities that overly sensitive could mean? And changing that into something else. And then that started manifesting out. Once I accept that about myself, then everybody else in my reality mirrors that back to me as well and accepts that about me and is grateful about that quality that I have that I used to think was a flaw.
Yeah, and you can flip anything. You can, like I said, you want people to love you regardless, but you can flip anything to be like, especially because of that thing. I had someone recently tell me, oh, well, one of the reasons I think my SP doesn't like me is because like I'm different in this way or that way. And I was like, okay, well, why don't you make it that he likes you even more because you're different in this way or that way?
Exactly. So almost celebrating your perceived flaws and being grateful for them because they do make you super unique. They make you who you are. They make you you.
Also, I will say, ironically too, if we're working from a manifestation perspective, in theory, you could change your nose shape too, but you couldn't come from a place of needing it and like being like, needs to change. It's wrong. It's wrong. It's wrong. It would come from a place of, I love my nose. I love my nose. And before you know it, you would love your nose, or your nose would change to conform to the version you have in your mind of it. So, but it has to come from a place of love and gratitude of it rather than a place of needing it to change, because needing it to change is equal to lack and not having it.
Well, yeah. And every time you look in the mirror, yeah, saying, oh my gosh, it looks so great. My nose is perfect. It's getting smaller and smaller, whatever you want to say to create. Yes, absolutely. You can change it if you want to.
Yeah, but you just have to, you have to realize where you're coming from. Like I said, if you're coming from a place of needing it to change, I'm sorry, it's never going to change. You're going to have to find, and you can find, like I said, that's why it's important. You can find other things to love about yourself and other things to be grateful for and start there. And then you can start including things that you want to change and appreciate those to get you into that state of appreciation. You can start with, like, I love my hair. Like, I know one thing that I have always been really confident about is my hair and my eyebrows. Like, people always compliment my eyebrows. So that would be a place to start for me. And then I can add in other things. So everyone has like those things that they feel really confident about. And personality, like I said, include personality traits too, interests. Like, what makes you such a cool person? Why would everyone want to be with you? Think about those things, because that's going to help you boost those intentions as well. Because you're not just saying, oh yeah, everyone wants to be with me. You're thinking about why. Oh yeah, everyone wants to be with me because I'm freaking awesome, and I can do this and I can do that, and I'm this way and I have this and I have that, and I'm a kind person, whatever that is for you. Also, one more thing that I want to make sure on the topic of gratitude. I know this is very different from everything else that is said in the video so far, but another really powerful way to use gratitude is people often overlook their small manifestations and think nothing of them. Sometimes they don't even give themselves credit for them, and they're just like, yeah, whatever. Don't do that, because you're essentially shooting yourself in the foot, because you're losing the opportunity to be grateful for getting it and to boost your confidence as a manifester. If I manifested this scrunchie, it's a basic black scrunchie, but it doesn't matter. I manifested it. And it all comes down to, no matter how small the manifestation is, like, it all comes down to people. If I'm thinking about this scrunchie, and this is just the next object I grab next to me, someone had to have, this is actually not a basic scrunchie. It is black, but it's like a specific fabric that like doesn't break your hair, and it has something inside it that doesn't break your hair, right? So I did not make it. I did not create it. Someone had to have the thought to create this scrunchie so that when I wanted to buy it, it was available. Like, when I thought, oh, I want a scrunchie that doesn't break my hair, this was already on the market for me to buy it. But someone had the thought before I had the thought. But it was my thought, my desire, going back in time, for this to be created at the time of when I wanted it. Or you could look at it in a sense of like, maybe there's a parallel reality where this scrunchie doesn't exist, but I jumped into one that it existed because my desire had to be fulfilled. So whether you look at it one way or another, the point is that at the end of the day, I get my desire, which was this in that situation. I wanted a scrunchie that wouldn't break my hair. Here it is. It exists because I desired it. So
Absolutely.
you want to make sure you notice those things. And if someone gives you something, like I bought this, but like if someone had given it to me, then that's another layer of like, oh, and that person had to think to give it to me. But even if you bought it yourself, you can still think about, you can still be grateful for it. That car you want, that house you want, someone had the idea to build it so that you could have it. But really, it was your desire that created it to be existing in the first place.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's a really good point. I'm glad you brought that up. You're exactly right. So yeah, you guys, focus on being grateful, and you're going to attract more things like that into your reality, instead of focus on the lack. So yeah, thank you, Karen, so much for being here. And
everyone, please
everybody likes
at least one thing that you're grateful for in your reality. Like I said, I just picked up a scrunchie and showed gratitude for it. You can pick anything. Something, and preferably something about yourself, because I want you guys to think about your self-concept and things you're grateful for about yourself.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I'll be looking forward to reading those comments. So yeah, definitely put that in the comments below, because yeah, each one of you guys are very special and unique how you are. So you should celebrate that. So yeah, thanks again for bringing that here. And remember, Karen is a coach here, so check out her description link below, as well as her course. So thank you so much. Have a great day, you guys. Bye-bye.